Steering it is broken down.
Well, folks, after all the commotion throughout this weekend's qualifying sessions, it's time to find out who is up to the task of claiming the Chinese Grand Prix. Yes, we are here in Shanghai. Shanghai International Circuit, then, a 16-corner, high-speed thrill ride which tests all kinds of drivers with the long winding turns of turn 1 and 2 testing their patience, and the flat, open 1 kilometre back straight testing their skill in that crosswind in the open conditions. 2 DRS zones will assist overtaking today as cars will look to get the edge over their opponent in what will look to be an exciting race, and personally for me, I'll be watching turn 14 to see what sort of moves go down into there and the very tricky braking point on the hairpin before the back straight. And thanks to the wet qualifying 3 session, the grid has been shaken up a little bit. Pole sister once again, Matt Chapman, but joining on the front row with him is Andre Abreu. It's his first time in Q3, but he's managed to make it onto the front row of the grid. That's a good job from him. Joel Foxhall joins behind it in that pink Racing Point. He's joined by Alex Hughes, that in the Haas. He almost won it in Australia. Let's see what he can do. Robbie Welsh in P5 in that Renault, joined by Torben Schutt on those red-marked soft tyres. Alex Rinser, his teammate, DNF'd on the first lap of qualifying 1, but he managed to stay until Q3. He's joined by Salomon in P8. P9 is David Titan, the teammate of Schutt, and Hammore joins him in P10. Just outside the points here with a free tyre choice, we've got Dylan Hartley in the AlphaTauri, and last week's winner, Meech in P12, Mitchell in P13. He's in the Mercedes, and he's joined by Archie Middelfeld in P14. P15 is Joel's teammate James Wilson. He's in the Racing Point, and he's joined by Dylan's teammate Robinson in the AlphaTauri, and both the McLarens on the 9th row of the grid. That's Forbes and O'Mara respectively, and Harper and Knopp, obviously Knopp going out because of that crash in Q1, and that's your grid, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. That's a great start. Yeah, definitely. Obviously, these guys, Chapman, our pole sitter for today, is used to being in that pole position now. 3 out of 3 races so far, he has got pole position. So yeah, he's used to that position. But it's going to be interesting to see for the likes of Andre in P2 in the Williams, first time getting out of Q1, let alone getting into Q3. So that's going to be interesting. Anyone can hear me? Oh no, not again. Oh, there we go. I can hear me now. Oh wait, we can't hear Callum.
Boys, it always goes wrong in some way or another, doesn't it? It reset the microphone to my webcam mic, so you know. Yeah. So hello, 5x5. That is good. And you, at least he was on the formation lap and not on the start. All the drivers weaving to get the tire into those green marked intermediate tires. And as we see, Alpha Shotgun. Alex Hughes, unfortunately, he I don't know, some sort of technical issue down at Haas team.
Yeah, potentially looks like he's having to pull out of this one, which is really unfortunate for him. Obviously, qualified well, but yeah, it's just one of those things.
Especially when all of these drivers are on the intermediate tire, though it levels out the playing field, especially considering that all of the drivers who had the strategy of those medium tires, they had all of that eradicated, so it was just down to driver skill, and obviously boosted people like Andre and the Ferraris up, obviously, because of their tire choice.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, that paid off in the end.
The drivers align themselves on the grid. You see, to the back markers, we've got one of the Williams and the really unexpected one, the Red Bull of Casper Knopp. Joining the back of the grid. And we'll get the green flag in just a moment. There's the green flag. There's 5 lights. It's lights out and away we go for the start of the Kenco Formula 1 Championship here at China. Max Chapman gets a really, really good start. The Ferrari looking to get into the inside for turn 1. The Williams defending, but the Renault of Archie Middlefeld already looking to push up into those top places.
Yeah, great start from Max Chapman as per usual. Clinical from him.
And we got some commotion at the back as I think the McLarens have touched, and then also the McLaren of Forbes also coming into contact with Jake through that corner.
Yeah, potentially. It looks like the McLaren of Josh has spun.
Yeah, O'Mara coming around that corner just lost his back end.
Yeah, a shame for him. Obviously starting P17, I believe. Not a great way to start his race.
And decidedly already in front, Chapman already a couple tenths in front of, Shoes promoted himself to P2 from P5, I think it was.
Yeah, obviously Robbie's got the jump on Andre in the Renault. Obviously, good start for him. But yeah, as you said, Max 1.3 seconds already ahead. Great start from him. Really,
really chaotic down here in the midfield. We've got one of the Alfa Romeos of Casper trying to eye up a move on Joel here in of Wilson down in sector 2. He's coming into turn 10. This is the one that gets right onto the back straight, and then he's going to try and get the inside. What would you do if you were in this position?
Obviously, turn 11, great turn to try and overtake. He looks like he's going to go the outside through turn 12, coming through 13 now. Obviously, onto the back straight. There's not going to be any DRS due to the wet conditions, but yeah, nice simple overtake done there. But the racing partner Wilson may get the slipstream back on him. We'll have to wait and see on that.
Now, Knopp already up into P13. He started last on that grid, but that one position, obviously from Alex Hughes, means that they can promote themselves. He can promote himself one place, and already 3 wide into turn 14 goes Hanmore, Forbes, and Robinson.
Yeah, great start from Knopp in the Red Bull. Obviously, a very disappointing qualifying for him, but yeah, he's proving himself as we thought he would.
And Chapman sets the fastest lap, obviously, as he leads the race. 2 positions gained by the Ferrari and the Renault in P2 and P3, and then 4 by Wilson, and also 6 by Casper Knopp. Like we said, amazing start from him.
Yeah, Casper Knopp, our best starter of today. Up in P13 at the moment, looking like he's going to have a good race at the moment.
And Titan promoting himself up into P7. That's his first overtake of today. Oh, and Rinser, he's spun. Coming onto the track, Rince has just lost it through the rear end, and that's very Alex Albon-esque here at China.
Yeah, real shame for Rincer. He had a good qualifying, but now P18. He's still ahead of that McLaren of Amera by the looks of it, so he's going to have a long race ahead of him. But he's not too far away from the guys in front. He's just got to get those positions back.
Tell you who I'm looking at, Sam, also known as Wolfie, go follow him on Twitch, is Mitchell. He's in P10 or P9 already.
Yeah.
Oh, and who's that falling to the back? Andre. Andre's falling to the back. What happened there?
Looks like he might have had a spin, unfortunately, for Andre. As we said, P2 for him, first time getting out of Q1. Yeah, looks like he might have had a spin due to these tricky conditions, and he looks like he's got a bit of oversteer there. The rear tyres are really warm.
Really, really difficult for these drivers. Obviously, we've already had one wet race this season in Australia, but locking the tyre into that front, into turn 11, it's really, really difficult braking point, that one. And if you get stuck outside, you get unstuck on the marbles. Another yellow flag into the Sector 3. Wow, wow, wow. What an interesting race it already is, as Harper overtakes Knopp in P13 to put in P12. Really, really tight in that midfield still.
Yeah, some great racing from the midfield guys, as usual, as Max does go for another fastest lap. Up in P1 currently.
There's a big gap beginning to perform, but everyone from Robinson backwards, and actually rather not backwards, they're all really, really bunched together, so we could see some beautiful overtakes here into Sector 1.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, look like there's a little bit of a gap between Casper Knopp and the Red Bull and the Haas in front of him, but no doubt he'll make that up. He's already in P11. Great start from him. 8 positions gained in the first 2 laps.
We see a beautiful Russian flag sort of on Casper Knopp's helmet. Obviously, we saw him in qualifying with that green design he sported also back at Bahrain, but a lot of work these helmets are getting put into, obviously, by all of these drivers in every single one of the races.
Yeah, definitely. We are seeing some great helmet designs from these guys, but other persons to talk about in P3 at the moment, Torben Schutt in the Ferrari, 2 positions gain. Great start from him.
What a beautiful sound that Red Bull is coming around that corner. He's already managed to gain 2 seconds over Harper, so that's a really, really good sign for him.
Yeah, as we know, he has got some great pace in that Red Bull, has Casper Knopp.
Yeah, exactly. Here we have Salomon, the teammate of the only driver not to start on the grid today. Alex Hughes couldn't start because of a technical issue in the Haas garage, but he's laying up a move on Hamor, who's dropped a few places from the start.
Yeah, looks like Hanwell's had another tricky start, which is not great. Looks like he's lost 5 positions, but yeah, Casper Knopp has gained about 2 seconds in a single lap to the Haas driver of Salomon. So yeah, some great pace, some great race pace. I want to see how far Knopp can go today.
Yeah, especially, and the Haas of Salomon eyes move on Hanmore. And, on Mitchell, Hamor's teammate, and he's in front. That's not good for the Mercedes driver, but he's going to try and go around the outside and down the inside. Casper, a beautiful double overtake from him.
Yeah, capitalizing on that situation, getting in front of the Mercedes, great work from him.
Yeah, and he's going to eye up a move on Salomon coming down onto the straight. Obviously, no DRS because of the wet conditions, but the slipstream just in this wet conditions is enough because so much drag on these tyres.
Yeah, definitely, and looks like he's going to get it done and going to turn 2, the tricky turn 1 he's currently in. Looks like he's got it done.
Yeah, yellow flag into Sector 1, so I wonder if one of the people behind has spun, but Middelfeld already in the pits on lap 4.
Interesting strategy there, but looks like Thomas Sowell might have actually spun whilst fighting with Knopp. We'll have to have a look at that, but looks like he did have a spin there going into turn 2.
Yeah, and as you said, those rear tyres will be spinning, but Ian all the way down in P18. He started P8, I believe. P10, I believe, so 8 positions down already.
Yeah, it's a real shame for Hanmar. He's struggling in those conditions in his Mercedes at the moment.
Good stuff from Robbie Welsh as well, keeping himself P2. 1.5 second gap from the leader, and we haven't really seen this before with obviously before in the wet conditions, Chapman just pulled out a gap, and the only person who could really rival him was Hughes, who isn't racing today.
Yeah, definitely looks like he might be just in the slip to range of Chapman in front of him coming through Sector 3, which is always a good thing for him. So yeah, some good pace from the Renault driver, which is always good to see. We want to see some new drivers fighting at the front, of course.
And going on board with Welsh, we're going to see him chased down, or rather be chased down by the Ferrari behind in Schutt. He's about a second behind, but anything can happen in this wet race, as we've seen already 3 cars spinning into Sector 1. It seems that Sector 1 is the wettest place on the track.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Sector 1, with that turn 1, 2, 3 complex of corners, it's a very tricky corner, and determining whether to get back on the power is very hard, especially during the wet conditions.
Now, from the qualifying positions, I was not recommending a wet race. I think it would have been a really boring one, but so far it's done nothing but excite.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, all the talk in qualifying was about the tyre strategy, but that has been completely eliminated with the guys getting a free choice of tyre due to the wet conditions.
That's really played into Casper Knopp's hand, hasn't it? Obviously, being P20, he had to make those tyres last till the end and try and go on that two-stopper rather than the three-stoppers of the soft runners. But now with the wet conditions, he's been able to capitalise on that with the bottom half of the grid obviously not being able to fend him off in the wet conditions.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, this is gonna prove well for some drivers and not so well for others. So we'll have to wait and see who are the winners of the rain today.
James Wilson doing really, really well. He's just lost his back end a little bit through there. The rear likes to slide through the long winding right-hander of turn 8, I believe. But it's really, really good to see him up in those points positions. Obviously, last week we saw him DNF, I believe, or not DNF, but finish outside the points. But he's being eyed up a move on by Robinson, who's in P10. His teammate Harley in P7 is not. We haven't seen much of him. Sorry, we haven't seen much of him this race, have we?
No, not at all. Obviously, Jay Robinson in the Alpha Tauri. He's gained 5 positions, which obviously a great race, straight start to the race for him. But looks like he's got past the racing point going through turn 11.
And I'm not sure what's gone on there, but like we said, we've just seen Wilson has left the session, so don't know what's going to go on there, whether he'll be able to make it back.
You're not too sure what's happened there. Maybe another technical issue down at the racing point garage. But looks like the AI is making a move down on the inside on Jay
Oh,
in the Alpha Tauri.
as Jay, I think may have clipped tires if he was actually racing there, but thankfully he isn't. And we're gonna go on board with oh sorry, not on board. We're gonna go and spectate Titan. It's been a very quiet race for him, but he's still trying to eye up a move on the winner from last week here in China. Last week was Bahrain, and what an outstanding performance it was from Kasper Meech.
Yeah, obviously that race in Bahrain is still one of the best so far, with that outstanding victory from Kasper Meech in the Alfa Romeo. But I'm just hearing that unfortunately the racing point driver of Wilson has retired due to a technical issue.
What, the car, or is it just the driver?
The driver itself is himself is retired, but the car will stay as an AI.
Well, I think this may be some Tesla new in thing, the self-driving car or something. I don't know. When the driver doesn't feel like it, this car can drive itself. Some new racing point technology, but we'll see if we can try and get him back in. We may have to go to an intermission screen just for a few moments while we get him back in, but I'm sure you guys won't mind that. But that racing point really trying to chase up Jay, who's in P9.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the racing point now in P10 of Wilson is an AI, but it's still got some good pace. The Alpha Tauri of Robinson may be slightly struggling. We'll have to wait and see, but obviously these conditions don't look like they're easing up at all, and I would even say there's more rain than there was at the start of the race currently.
Yeah, Rinser down into P12, Andre P13. Big fall from heaven, isn't it? As they say, when you're high up in the clouds and enjoying life, it can be a long way to fall if you do fall. And Andre down in P13, I'm sure he will be feeling the effects of that right now.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be really demotivating for the Williams driver. Obviously, starting P2 today, had a great qualifying performance, but to be down in P13 now, such a shame for him. But yeah, the conditions obviously got better of him at the moment, but we'll have to wait and see what we can do further through the race.
Okay, boys, we're just going to go to an intermission screen so we can invite James back to the session, but just 1 second and we won't be very long. So, Sam, walk us through one of Kasper Knopp's laps.
Kasper Knopp, obviously the Red Bull driver, currently going through turn 2 and 3. Obviously, the tricky start to the lap that is well known in China, coming through turn 4 now. Quite easy during the dry bit, during the wet, obviously a bit trickier. Looks like he's losing the back end slightly, but coming through turn 5, still flat in the wet.
Yeah, and there we go.
Turn
We see.
6.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
No
Wilson has been resuscitated or something, and the cars managed to be oh my goodness, I can't get my words out today. James is back in the car.
I think we all know what you mean. That's great to see for James. Hope he can fight further into the points positions now.
And Kasper Knopp eyeing up now with Dylan Hartley in P7, and he's gaining quite a lot on the lap.
Yeah, Kasper Knopp, some immense pace currently displaying from him, and he is going to be eyeing up that move on Hartley, no doubt. Obviously going to get that slipstream on the back straight, and then coming into turn 14 will no doubt try and make a move if possible.
And we haven't really seen much from any other drivers other than Kasper, the 2 Alfa Romeos, and the Renault of Robbie Welsh. So it's a pretty quiet race, other than in the midfield.
Yeah, definitely. China, sometimes we do see that here, unfortunately, but yeah, still some things to look at, such as the Renault in P2. I think that's quite interesting where they can sustain that place. Obviously, Charlie now in the Ferrari in P3, just a second behind. So that's going to be a fight.
Yeah, we've seen a really interesting one here. Both the Mercedes going side by side tandem down the back straight. So that's just a beautiful sight.
Yeah, we are used to seeing that in real world with the two Mercedes being very strong, but obviously P16 and 17 in the Kenco League today, not quite what we was expecting from them today.
I think a bit calm there from both the drivers, not trying to risk anything going around that corner. I think they were just a bit hesitant to get on the power as Mitchell goes a little bit wide into turn 16.
Yeah, obviously understandable. They don't want to ruin their race completely for no real reason, so sensible from the guys.
With these wet conditions deteriorating, do you think it's safe to say that the front runners will try and overcut, or do you reckon that they'll try and undercut?
I don't know, it's going to be a tricky one. It's all dependent on whether this rain is set to last or not.
And
because you don't want to unnecessarily pit.
Yeah, completely. And with Welsh only 2 seconds behind, do you think Chapman has enough of a gap to do that to overcut?
Yes, I'm surprised. I thought Chapman would have had a bit of a bigger gap, but still a significant gap to the car behind. But I think he's going to have to push a little bit more before he can consider any strategic options at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And Meech in P5, obviously he came back from, I believe he was in P12 at the start of the grid, so that's 8 positions gained already.
Yeah, great start from Casper Meech in the Alfa Romeo. Obviously told us after the race he didn't have the best qualifying, didn't feel that strong in the car, he had no pace apparently, and to get into P5 is great. Obviously got some great race pace today.
And just as you said that, he sets the fastest lap of a 146.95, so some good pace on those inters, and as they try to, as they become slicks.
Yeah, definitely, as you said, after a while these inter tyres do lose their grooves and they do become more like a slick tyre, and Casper Meech in the Alfa Romeo is slowly approaching the racing point of Joel, so we'll have to see whether he can make a move soon.
Sorry folks, we just had to re-invite one of the drivers again, as we see Mitchell coming around the final couple turns, and we just hope that the driver that's in P13 can get back in that car. And there's a little bit of action going on with Mitchell and the 2 McLarens going up front into Sector 1.
Obviously, we saw this battle between Ian and Josh last week. Can Ian get through? Looks like he does. Cuts the corner slightly going through turn 3 there.
Yeah, definitely. And that's going to put Omar on the back foot because he's going to be chasing in the spray of that in the spray of that Mercedes. And as we know, it's probably the best aero, maybe other than the Red Bull, the best aero on the grid. So that'll be designed to spray it all away from their car and into the path of the car behind.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, Amera just doesn't look like he has the pace today in that McLaren. But we are used to seeing Hanmore and Amera fighting, so we may see that more throughout the race.
You tell me. I told you these conditions, they're not getting any better, but do you think they'll get to the point where we're on full wet soon?
I don't know. At the moment, definitely not. This is definitely into weather, and unless there is a significant amount of rain and the amount of which it comes down in a short period of time, I don't think there'll be wet tyres. Unless, it's seriously heavy rain.
And whilst we were away, Knopf managed to get past Hartley, so he's now into P7, and he'll be chasing down the Ferraris and the front runners as well.
Yeah, definitely. Casper, not great race so far. P7 up from P20. I mean, there's little more I can say.
Hey, do you think it's another last to first challenge as we saw last week? It might be. If we see another winner that came from the back of the grid, then I'm going to be very, very surprised.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, it's all dependent on what the guys at the front can do, whether Max can hold on to his lead that he currently has, about 2 seconds over the car behind him. We'll have to wait and see. But, everything's possible, and that was proven in Bahrain with Casper Meech in the Alfa Romeo.
We're going to take one lap on board the AlphaTauri of Dylan Hartley, the only Spaniard on the grid today, and he's also sporting a new helmet. But, yeah, one lap on board. Just enjoy the sounds of that Honda engine. Dylan rounds the final corner, and um, he's 4 seconds behind now, so he's lost 2 seconds to the Red Bull in front. That just either shows the pace of that Red Bull, or just shows you that some of the drivers are now starting to conserve tyres in order to go to the end.
Yeah, definitely. I just think that pace of the Red Bull is incredible, one of the fastest on the track at the moment, and I think he's gonna go even further than P7.
Yeah, definitely. The man I'm interested in is Robinson, though. He's doing quite well, P9.
Yeah, Robinson, obviously, as we said earlier, not heard much from him, but he is doing okay by the looks of it in P9. But yeah, I have to wait and see what he can do.
And he's behind his teammate by about 6 seconds, so that gap has already formed in the midfield. There's 17 laps to remain. I can't believe it's already been 11 laps. It doesn't feel like it, does it, Sam?
No, definitely not. This race has been great so far. Obviously, lots of overtakes on the first few laps with some great drivers. The thing I'm most interested in at the moment is that the battle between Casper, Meech, and Joe is getting very close.
Yeah, Casper, Meech, and Joel, that two of the front runners that we're expecting to see, but Meech looking like he's going to go past him down that back straight. Joel's going to keep that inside line, so he might... Casper is in front by the start of that corner, and he's maintained that lead, but Joel was probably going to look to keep off those marbles and stay in that slipstream, but as we saw in Turkey last year, you go behind someone too close, you get caught in that spray, go out wide on the marbles, and you've gone just like Verstappen did.
Yeah, most definitely. Obviously, very tricky out there, especially with the marbles as you're staying in the wet. It is very tricky and easy to spin.
And Joel already about half a second behind Casper in P3. That's Alfa Romeo 1-3, and that Renault has sustained that position in P2.
Yeah, definitely. I'm surprised, to be honest, but great from him.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely. That's sort of the catchphrase of this, isn't it? These drivers these drivers are performing exactly as we expect. There's no real fault in the grid so far. Only a few of them making a few vital mistakes at the start, but other than that, then there's not been anything, has there?
No, definitely not. Been very consistent from all the guys out there. It looks like the Mercedes guys have been the guys to be struggling the most. But yeah, some great performances from those out there.
Andre already made himself back up into P10. He was in P15 earlier this race, and he was in P2. So it's a long way to fall, like we said.
Yeah, a shame for Andre. Had a great and very impressive qualifying, but yeah, I have to see what he can do. Whether the strategy might play into his hands.
And the first one of the conventional pit stops is coming into the pits. It's Mitchell in that Mercedes. He's going to put the inters on again, I believe. It's the smart strategy, isn't it, Sam?
Yeah, definitely at the moment it's definitely not ready for the dry tyres. The Inter is the most sensible tyre to go on. We'll have to wait and see whether how long they can last for.
And there is Chapman and Robbie Welsh lapping the car of Ben Mitchell. He has just come out the pits, obviously, that is why he's been lapped, but blue flag into Sector 1.
Yeah, the pace of the front runners is that good that we're already seeing lapping on lap 13, so yeah, that's impressive.
Get me right, I think this is the first blue flag of the season, is it not?
That could be correct, I just think the Mercedes guys, they've been really struggling out there, and yeah, the front runners are already getting through them.
I'm really, really impressed with Welsh maintaining that lead into... well, he's only 1.5 seconds behind Chapman. It seems when you're out in front, you're unstoppable.
Yeah, definitely. Welsh has that clearer air in front of him, not too close to Chapman, so he's able to get he's not getting as much spray from the guy in front of him, so it's a real advantage.
See Ben Mitchell letting Robbie Welsh by there with the blue flag. You have, I think it's 3 static blue boards to let the driver by until you get given a penalty, and the second of the pit stops is happening down at McLaren with Adam Forbes and Ian Hanmore as well.
Yeah, looks like Forbes has had to replace his front wing, might have got some damage from the first lap, but yeah, P16 going straight back onto the end.
That's the same with the Mercedes of Hanmore as well. He had a front wing replacement, and that gives him a stop time of 8.4 seconds, so reasonably quick, but obviously slow because of the wing change.
Yeah, definitely. There must have been some sort of tangle on the first few corners that we didn't catch, but yeah, they've had to replace their front wings, unfortunately. That might be contributing to the lack of pace from the Mercedes
And
driver.
oh my goodness, I'm not believing my eyes. Once again, someone other than the Alfa Romeo is leading. Robbie Welsh. I don't know what's happened to Chapman. Is it something to do with internet? He's coming to the pits, but I think he may have lagged back.
Yeah, this is the one of the few times we've seen someone else in P1 other than an Alfa Romeo driver. So yeah, great to see Welsh in P1 in the Renault.
I think that may have been because of the pit stop that he's been put into P1, but still P1 nonetheless.
Exactly, it's always good to see and motivating for the Renault driver.
All of the drivers starting to pit now. Lap 14, that's halfway, exactly halfway. So interesting to see whether this was the undercut. Well, whether the undercut strategy was powerful, because as we saw in Australia, it really wasn't.
Yeah, definitely. I think some drivers may be trying some different sort of strategy, maybe going a bit longer than others. We'll have to wait and see. But Max Chapman in the Alfa Romeo triggering the undercut and has gone first.
And Meech is chasing Welsh down now. 7 seconds behind into sector 3. He's going to come up to turn 11. He's going to be late on those brakes, trying to clip that inside curb as he does really nicely. Want to keep the outside through here, but quickly get on the inside if you get stuck on those marbles, as Casper does. It's really hard to get back in, but it's a really good start. And we see some static water there, some standing water on the back straight.
Yeah, that is one of the only sort of places we've seen some serious standing water. Maybe the rain is heavier around that part of the track near turn 12, 13.
Yeah, definitely. And Robbie Welsh 3 seconds in front of Meech now, so Meech has already got 1 second onto him from last lap.
Yeah, we've seen some incredible pace from some certain drivers out there today, like Casper off the Red Bull and obviously Casper in the Alfa Romeo.
And there we have him. Robbie Welsh into the pits. I'm going to watch this on board. We're going to go on board with Robbie Welsh, and we'll see whereabouts he is when he comes out the pits. Everybody's still on the inter tyres. Thank you, NHS, it says on that Renault, and thank you very much indeed to those frontline workers who are making sure that we can be here today and we can be commentating, and Chapman easily passed Welsh.
Yeah, unfortunately that was expected. There was a significant margin between the Renault and the Alfa Romeo driver, but it's a Alfa Romeo P1 and 2. Obviously, Meech hasn't pit yet, but he's obviously going for a different strategy, so that will we'll have to wait and see how effective that is.
And I think there's about a 15-second gap. Oh, sorry, a 20-second gap between Meech and Welsh. So I'm not sure. I don't think he's quite safe as of yet, but definitely possible depending on how far he extends these tyres with Meech.
Yeah, definitely just riding on board with him at the moment, except the tyres are still doing pretty decent for him as he does lose the back end slightly. But yeah, I reckon he'll be coming in pretty soon because, you know, there's only we're half distance of the race now.
Only 3 seconds behind Welsh with it's about the same as what he was when he went into the pits, so pretty equidistant for the overcut and the undercut.
Yeah, definitely. There wasn't a huge advantage from the Alfa Romeo driver. Obviously expected that he would be retaining that lead over the Renault driver, but yeah.
A lot of teams together today. We've got P17, P19 for the Mercedes, P15, P18 for the McLarens, and up in P9 and P10 we've got the AlphaTauri team, who decidedly just look comfy in the bottom end of the points.
Yeah, of course, also the Ferrari guys, P5 and 6, and does look like Casper and the Alfa Romeo will come in for a pit stop now.
Yeah, we'll see what his interval is as well as he comes into the pits. He's got about 11 seconds to Welsh. Welsh definitely will get him because of this pit stop, but we'll see whether he has a wing replacement. That really decides on whether he is still in the top 5.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like he's not going to be having one, and he's just had the tyres replaced, which is great news for him.
Quick pit stop from the Alfa Romeo crew there, 2.6 seconds. That's going to give him a 21 flat in the pit lane. That's really good for him. That means he's still in the podium places.
Yeah, great from him. Great pit stop from the Alfa Romeo guys, and looks like he's still got a nice margin ahead of Joel in the racing point.
We're seeing some really good pace from the Ferrari. Red team, Torbenschut, P6, new tyres, less fuel, obviously, it's the Stratton. Robinson gets past Wilson, who I think may be coming into the pits, as yes, he does. He comes through pits, and no wing replacement for him either, so good and clean in the midfield.
Yeah, it looks like it was just the rear end of the pack that had to replace their front wings and there might have just been a few little taps between those guys. But other than that, the rest of the field have been pretty good in terms of that.
I'm really impressed with how Andre has been able to recover. Obviously, he was P18 on the second corner of this race, and he's now back into P10. That's the first podium point. Sorry, not the podium point, the first constructor position point. He'll get 1, thereafter it's 2, and then 5. So, interesting to see him back up, and it really makes you wonder what happened to the bottom 20. Oh, sorry, the bottom 10.
Yeah, I just feel like there's some guys out there that have been really struggling. I'm not too sure whether the Williams driver of Abreu has pitted yet, but to be P10 is obviously impressive.
Some diametrically opposed things here. You've got Robbie Welsh, Renault, P2. Archie Middlefell, Renault, P16. We've got some indication that maybe he isn't feeling too well this weekend. That might be why he isn't performing as his teammate. Robbie Welsh sets the fastest lap. That may be why Robbie Welsh stayed out. Does he want the fastest lap point as well?
Yeah, potentially. Obviously, top 10, if you get the fastest lap, you get that extra championship point. So that's very valuable in a league that is proving to be very close amongst the drivers.
Ferrari's looking really, really quick on pace right now. 2 fastest laps set from both of their drivers in the past 5 laps. So Torben Schut, he's on the Inters. Well, everybody's on the Inters, but Torben Schut is on the older Inters. Titan is on the newer Inters. So it's really, really good to see the pace from someone maybe other than the Alfa Romeo team. And Welsh only 4 seconds behind Chapman, but Meech, his strategies really played into his hands. P8, that could be another podium, successive podiums for him.
Yeah, definitely. That is 2 weekends in the row by the looks of it that the strategies really played off from the Alfa Romeo guys and really benefiting the driver of Meech this week.
And Hanmore, we've got everybody below P14 is now at least a minute behind first position. So that means that they're probably lapped from, well, Mitchell, O'Mara, and Hartley. Sorry, not Hartley, Harper in the Mercedes, McLaren, and Williams. They are all lapped because obviously time delta, it's 1 minute 30 a lap. So that means that they are all lapped, and Middlefeld is just on the cusp.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the Mercedes guys have been able to pull off any sort of increase in their pace. Obviously, Hanmore and the Mercedes currently P15, about 7 seconds behind the McLaren of Adam Forbes, but then that McLaren is 30 seconds behind the racing point of Wilson. So there's some big gaps out there in them.
Some stellar pace here from the Renault of Welsh. Go ahead, take over and walk me through a lap.
Welsh obviously coming up to turn 1. Very tricky corner, especially in the wet conditions. Looks like he's done it very well, though. Obviously, those tyres proving to be pretty good. Now coming through turn 3 here. And turn 4, just trying to get on the power as early as possible. It's very, very tricky in the wet conditions. And then coming up to turn 5, that's still flat in the wet. Pretty simple corner. Shouldn't even really be called a corner. And then turn 6, obviously a lot trickier now. But nicely ease onto the power to avoid any unnecessary wheel spin. And then turn 7 is tricky in the wet. Obviously, you want to go as fast as possible in the dry, but that's not as possible in the wet. Turn 10 leading onto the straight just before turn 11, which is the tricky left-hander. Another hairpin sort of complex of corners. Turn 12 again, just trying to find the biting point of the tyres, trying to get on the power as early as possible. He's about 2 seconds behind the Alfa Romeo. So that same sort of gap as we were seeing before as we approach turn 14. Obviously, one of the heaviest braking zones in the F1 2020 calendar. But he's still too far away from Chapman to make a move currently. But no doubt we'll see that in a few more laps, hopefully. Looks like he's got some good pace in the Renault, which we weren't sort of expecting qualifying in P4. But rounding the last corner, turn 16. And that was a great lap from Robbie.
Yeah, obviously the wet conditions bring out the best in these drivers, and one of the drivers who's really capitalising is Foxhall in P14, and we're just getting a team radio from his engineer. Let's have a listen now.
Joel, push now. You have overtake available. The car in front is close.
That's really good stuff from their team. It shows that they're really wanting. They're only 1.8 seconds behind. They're close. They're really close. They can taste victory.
Yeah, definitely. They're not too far behind the Alfa Romeo of Meech, and that is the final podium position. They're going to be wanting to push for that as much as possible. But yeah, they're not too far away. It's definitely possible for the Racing Point of Vauxhall.
And Meech now 7 seconds behind. His tyres are, well, dropping off, as you can say. But Welsh still maintaining that gap. And do you think he's gonna? Do you think the reason he stayed out is, well, perhaps so he? Oh, and Chapman, that's out of the session. That's a virtual safety car. Chapman, that is really interesting. One of the people who he thought we were gonna win this race, he thought he was in for that. And Welsh now P1 and Meech P2.
Wow. I was not expecting that. Obviously, virtual safety car out now, so they're going to have to keep to their delta. But Chapman out.
That is
Was not expecting
really.
that.
That's the same place we saw Nop go out in Q1.
Yeah, that turn 10 proving to be very difficult for these drivers in the wet conditions. Obviously, with the rear tires spinning up too much. But yeah, that's a real shame for Chapman. He had that victory in the bag today.
Really, really unfortunate for that Alfa Romeo team. They're looking for that constructors. They had it in hand. As you see, Chapman now falling down the order. It's really unfortunate. I think his rear end just went, as I was saying about Welsh's tyre wear being being far superior, and we're away again. Green flag in the Sector 1, and Robbie Welsh passing the finishing flag on lap 20 in P1.
Wow, this is going to be very close for Meech now. P2, 6 seconds behind the Renault in P1, but can he do it? There's 8 laps left of the race.
And just as we heard the team radio of the Racing Point team, the Racing Point team is P3. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Joel Foxall in the Racing Point will now be promoted to P3 because Chapman has retired, unfortunately. But yeah, what a shame for Chapman.
Now, talk me through, what would you do if you were Foxall? Just take me through it, mate.
Well, Foxall obviously so much more pressure on his shoulders now. He's P3. Obviously, he's got that podium position secured at the moment, unless the Red Bull behind him, sorry, the Ferrari behind him can take that off him. But yeah, he's going to be wanting to push as far forward as possible. But to be honest, I think the most pressure is on Meech, obviously in the Alfa Romeo. He's P2. His teammate was in P1. He's crashed out. He's DNF'd. And unless Meech can gain about 6 seconds on the guy in front of him of Welch in the Renault, he will not be winning that race, and the Alfa Romeo team will not be getting that win today.
It's really interesting to see how that's going to pan out. Now, only 8 laps left. Blue flags again being shown in Sector 2, coming into Sector 3, rounding the turn 13, as the Ferrari now laps the Williams of Harper down in P18. But that's really, really good for Renault in that Constructors. That puts them, that gives them 25 points. Obviously, Middelfeld, we said he's feeling ill a little bit today, so he's going to be outside the points. But the major breadwinner today, 25 points for Welch.
Yeah, most definitely. Obviously, Meech in P2 has still got that extra point for fastest lap, but he's still about 6 seconds behind the Renault of Welch, as he does set a new fastest lap. But yeah, it's going to be so close. He's got about 8 laps now to gain 6 seconds. So you guys can do the maths. That's very close.
Now, this must be good for Meech. Obviously, last week he tasted victory last to first, and this week only 4 seconds behind the person in P1. So one mistake from Welsh, and it's another Alfa Romeo victory, perhaps, or another victory for last week's winner.
Yeah, regardless of where Casper finishes today, as long as he stays in P2, he's going to be happy with that. And obviously, he was not happy in qualifying, but yeah, it's a great recovery drive.
I mean, it's obviously never brilliant to have one of your drivers, especially one who is leading this race, go out. But when you see someone, or a team as strong as Alfa Romeo, that are able to have someone push for P1, even though their star driver is out, that just screams talent, doesn't it?
Yeah, most definitely. That is a real shame for the Alfa Romeo guys. We know how strong that team is, and obviously Chapman very strong as well. But for him to lose his potential victory like that is never nice for him. But you know, he was the one driving. He's got to take responsibility for that. The team have been great for him today. Great pit stops. So yeah, that is unfortunately a driver error that's cost him the win today.
But it's still not out of reach for Meech and his team. Foxall again, P7 for him. So what can we expect to see from him?
Yeah, definitely. Foxall P3 currently in the Racing Point. He's about 4 seconds behind the Alfa Romeo. It's coming up some traffic of the McLaren of O'Meara, but that should be fine for him. Yeah, O'Meara's been pretty consistent this race. Started P3 and looks like he might end in P3 currently. So we'll have to wait and see what he can do, whether he can push forward to P2 or potentially even P1, depending on what happens.
And we'll go on board with the man who just set the fastest lap. We believe that he may be in a chance for that third and final podium position. Torben Schutt, Charlie, he's chasing down Foxhole. We did say Foxhole, he has the upper hand here, starting P3, finishing P3. It's perfect race for that Racing Point team. We heard him on the team radio. Oh, sorry. We heard his team engineer on the radio earlier saying that it's in reach. They've got that position, but now they can't let it go with the quick and fastly approaching the Ferrari behind.
Yes, it's going to be a completely different strategy now. Obviously, the Racing Point is going to be defending rather than attacking. But just a shout out to Torben Schutt and Ferrari. This is the pace we were sort of expecting from him. Obviously, we alluded to that in pre-season testing, and we've sort of seen that today. We've seen in the rain, he's sort of very strong. So that's great for the Ferrari driver.
And it's really different with different teams and different drivers sitting the fastest lap. Grizzler Titan down in P12, he has set the fastest lap. Both of the Ferraris really, really good on pace today. We saw Titan was sort of the underdog down in Bahrain, and he managed to clinch P2, obviously in the qualifying session. But it's really interesting to see. And who's that? Is that O'Mara in front waving his tyres? Not sure that's quite FIA approved actions, but maybe doing it for the cameras.
Yeah, potentially. But he's got out of the way nicely of the Ferrari driver by the looks of it. But yeah, looks like Schutt's teammate Titan has had to make an additional stop today, which has obviously hampered his race. He's now down in P12 out of the points position, so it's a shame for him. But Schutt about 1.8 seconds behind Foxhole in the Racing Point, so it's getting close. It may come down to one of the final laps.
On that pit straight as well, and the man who's just been overtaken twice, Hammore, he looks to go down the inside of his team. Oh, that's a big... that's a big corner cut for Ian, and that's a time penalty as well. 3 seconds onto his time, as well as that collision with the Renault of Middelfeld. That's not pretty.
That is not pretty at all. We've seen the Mercedes guys really struggling out there today, and Ian obviously went for that move, but didn't quite pay off by the looks of it. He might have some sort of damage. We'll have to wait and see for him, but yeah, not a great race for the Mercedes guys today at all.
That's what you get, folks, when you go half-hearted. We've seen it so many times in the past, especially in these wet conditions, when it's so easy to lock up or it's so easy to misjudge your braking point. Ian doesn't look to have any front wing damage, which is good for him. It means he can go probably to the end, but his rear tyres, the inside, are probably going to be really, really hot, and that's going to mean he's going to be susceptible to more spins or possibly even more action on those tyres. And Hammore down in P16, he started P10. That's 6 positions lost already from that driver. Really, really unfortunate for him, but as we said, half-hearted moves, they don't end well in Formula 1.
No, definitely not. You have to be much more committed than he was, but yeah, not a great race for him today. And as you said earlier, the tyres are going to be really struggling now with that little incident he had.
And Casper Knopp up in P5. Really, really solitary race for him today, but he's made already, let me do the maths here. It's 17 positions? No, not 17 positions. 13 positions. 15.
15, no? He started P20, correct?
P19, yeah, no, 14 positions.
14, yeah.
I just can't do maths, and yeah, I just can't do maths. P14. For some reason I was thinking there was 22 drivers, obviously because you and I, Sam. But regardless, yeah, beautiful drive for him today. I think inside he's going to be wanting that podium place.
Yeah, that would really top off his race today. Obviously, Meat in the Alfa Romeo last week was able to do last to first, so he's not quite managed to do that. But regardless, much trickier conditions here in China than in Bahrain last week. So it's some really impressive stuff, but some really impressive race pace from him, and some really great overtakes.
Now, some last week said it was raw pace, some said it was luck. What do you think with Casper's thing? I think it was an element of both, wasn't it?
Yeah, most definitely. And I think another element of that was also the strategy from the Alfa Romeo team. Great strategy for him to box on the different compound of tyres versus everyone else, and it really paid off for him in the end. He was just so much faster on the final few laps, and he was able to fend off this guy not in the Red Bull. So it's a mixture of all, but definitely the strategy played in well for him.
I think the safety cars are really, really advantageous to him. I think we would have seen that again if that virtual safety car, when Meech's teammate Chapman went out into that very corner that Casper's just gone through there. It'd be really advantageous for him if it was a full safety car opposed to that virtual safety car that we did see. But, you know, that allowed Casper to pit, and obviously that meant that he could have the alternate tyre strategy. But still, regardless, P19 to P5 is still a feat nonetheless.
Yeah, most definitely one of our most impressive drives today, and I definitely think a very good candidate for driver of the day.
Yeah, definitely. Remember, you can go and vote for driver of the day. We've got the pop-up coming up now. But Casper Meech, his front left is dead. 70% tyre wear almost. 60% gone, but nearing 70.
Yeah, he's pushing very hard, and he hasn't really gained that much in the last few laps that he's done, unfortunately. He's got some good pace, but it's just not quite enough to match the Renault in front. And I'm really surprised that the Renault of Robbie Welch has been able to stay out in front, and it's just held it so well. This is the first time he's been in the lead so far in the league, and he's really impressed, I feel.
First leader, other than an Alfa Romeo or a Red Bull in this race. Renault of Robbie Welch, an absolutely stellar performance from him so far. 7 seconds behind for Casper Meech, and Joel Foxall, some reasons in a rocket ship because we can't see his Delta.
Yeah, definitely, and it looks like as if it stands the way it is at the moment, he will be the first winner other than an Alfa Romeo. So that's obviously great to see for us guys watching as spectators.
Yeah, especially considering his teammate down in P14. He needs this to pay off, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Renault will be getting the 25 points that you get for being in P1. Doesn't look like he'll be getting the fastest lap award as at the moment, sorry. But, you know, 25 points is incredible. That's the most you can get.
On that lap, drawn 2 seconds out to the driver behind. Welch looks like he's in charge, well and truly, of this race. It's a matter of when rather than how now, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Robbie in P1 is going to want to just drive as he's been doing the whole race. Just stay consistent and keep that first position.
Yeah, one thing that that I've learned from my time in Formula 1 is never count anybody out. And, you know, 2 laps to go. And I think we could never say that any more than today, with Chapman leading so much of this race just to go out on lap 20 and put himself out of the points and rely upon his teammate who's currently in P2.
Yes, most definitely. But obviously we don't want to encourage that thing known as the commentator's curse to come along and ruin the Renault driver's current performance. So we'll have to wait and see. Obviously 3 laps left of the race. We'll have to wait and see whether he can stay in P1, but you know, it's looking good for him. But as you said, Chapman, real shame for him to retire from what, you know, let's be honest, would have been a very easy win for him today.
Interested in Torben Schutt here, chasing down Foxall 2 seconds behind. Foxall looks like he's going to be able to maintain that lead, but he's got traffic up ahead. That means he's going to be slower, and will that play into the Ferrari's hands?
That will obviously play into the Ferrari's hands in the short term, but obviously he's got to pass that traffic as well, so he'll be suffering that same fate. But we'll have to wait and see whether he can get a move done on Joel going into turn 14.
And the Ferrari teammate has just gone into P10. That gives him 1 point for the position, and obviously now he's in the points positions. Then he also gets an extra point for the fastest lap. So really, really good of him to stay late on, go on those tyres. So they're near at the end, and obviously he's got that fastest lap point as of now.
Yes, of course. Obviously, that fastest lap point can prove to be very important, and it may decide a few positions in the final standings of the league. Right,
talk me through Casper Meech. His tyres, 50% on the fronts, 40% on the rears. Tell me what you'd be doing if you were him, and just take over for a minute.
Obviously, our trusty AWS graphics that we all know and love, showing his tyre wear. He's tried so hard the last 8 laps or so to try and get in front of the Renault of Robbie, but just hasn't been quite enough, I don't feel. But as we said earlier, he's gained 9 positions in the race so far. It's been a great race for him, and obviously he's trying to. It's a bit of damage limitation for the Alfa Romeo team at the moment, with one of their drivers unfortunately having to retire due to his crash that he had. But you know, Casper Meech, he's going to be happy with P2, no doubt. But he's so close to that victory. It's going to be a slight bit of disappointment also. but he was not too happy with the car in qualifying. But it's a great recovery drive from him, for him to be in P2 just 5 seconds behind P1 is obviously a great effort from him today.
Casper Meach, right, still 6 seconds behind Robbie Welsh in P1. He's well and truly out by far. We haven't heard much from him in terms of this race or this competition as of yet. He's been very quiet on the sidelines, hasn't he? But dark horse underdog Robbie Welsh.
Yeah, it just proves that you should never give up and also never put anybody down. Obviously, we weren't expecting Welsh to be in contention for the victory today, but he's proved us wrong, and he's proved us wrong very well. He's had a great last few 8 laps being in P1, so we'll have to see whether his final lap will be as good and whether he can get that victory home for the Renault team.
And the Renault of Robbie Welsh has just lapped his teammate Middlefell in P13, but now he starts the final lap of this race. Really interesting stuff here at Shanghai. Driver of the day, who is yours? kencotv.uk/vote. Put your Twitch name, put your Google account, and we will see who has won at the end of this competition. But right now, we see Welsh approaching turn 6, I believe, coming tight round into turn 7. The winding left-hander is really, really hard for these cars to keep these grip, especially in the wet. Number 95, it might be the first time we see 95 on the podium this season, especially probably 95 ever in Formula 1. I don't think I've ever heard of a 95 before, but as he comes round through turn 9 into turn 10, and he gets on the power coming towards turn 11, and he's halfway through the lap on the final lap, Sam.
Yeah, looks like he's going to seal the victory today. I mean, what a great race from what I would class as an underdog in that Renault, Robbie Welsh. Couldn't be beaten by Meach today. Obviously, 5 seconds, has gained about a second in about 8 laps. So just not matching the pace of Welsh today. That Renault, obviously, nice simple strategy, staying on the into throughout the race like most of the other guys. So it's not strategy, it's just pace from him today, and it's been really great stuff.
Yeah, and he comes down to turn 14. Last leg now for Robbie. And it almost as if it was planned. The 2 Renault drivers coming through turn 16. Robbie Welsh is a winner of the Kenco Formula 1 Grand Prix. Wow, Robbie, what a performance there. And that means Middlefell will not do another lap, but down in P5, we just saw some overtaking into the straight. Casper Knopp has just been overtaken by Andre Abreu. So what's going on here? Talk me through it.
Not too sure what's happening here, but unfortunate for Casper to lose position on the last lap by the looks of it. But, regardless of that, it's been a great race from Casper. Oh, it looks like he has a puncture in his front left. Oh, no, let's see whether he's going to lose any more positions, but looks like he's safe in P6.
Really big puncture there for him coming past the finish line, but yeah, safe in P6, but that yellow flag will continue to Sector 1, and that's really bad for that driver. Talk me through what you do, or what a puncture really means.
Obviously, not great to see that on the last lap, but we have seen that in real life in the 2020 season with Lewis Hamilton winning his race on 3 tyres in Silverstone. But yeah, he has finished the race. He's crossed the line P6. He's gained 13 positions today, so a great recovery drive from starting P19 today. Looks like Joel also retained P3 in his racing point. The Ferrari of Schuck could not get the better of him today, and Joel will be our 3rd and final podium sitter for today. So some great stuff from him. Really
good stuff from everybody today. And what does that mean for the Constructors' Championship, Sam, with Renault on that podium? We'll cut back to the scene just so you can see there. Robbie Welsh on the top step of that podium. Remember, you can vote for your driver of the day at kencotv.uk/vote. I know who mine is today, Sam.
Yeah, most definitely. I think we would have a similar taste of driver of the day, but yeah, great race from the Renault driver of Welsh.
And we'll go and try and get some interviews in the meanwhile, but we'll hold on a few seconds because we think we're getting a team radio from the Renault team. Hang on, bear with me 1 second, boys. Okay, so we've just got a team radio from the Red Bull. Sorry about that puncture. Let's hear it now.
Puncture, puncture, scenario 1, we've got a puncture, full puncture, fast puncture.
Wow, wow, wow. Solid stuff there from the Red Bull team to maintain that even to the end, especially with such a bad puncture. But the man that we just heard on that radio, we've got an interview with him right now. Casper, last to first, you tried it. So close, but yet so far. You said the same thing last week, but I think we're singing like a broken record, aren't we?
Once again, it just could have been so much more. Clearly, my pace in the wet isn't as good as compared to the others. I've really tried everything, tried saving up fuel, ERS, tried the wet racing line, nothing just seemed to work today, and we tried our best, puncture at the end, we lost the position, but it's only one.
Yeah.
Still scored some good points from P19, and I'm happy with that performance.
What do you think to the other sitters on the podium? Obviously, first time we've seen someone win the race that is not the Alfa Romeo team. So, I mean, what do you think from that? Because that could have been you last week.
I mean, it's good to see some variety. We can obviously see that some constructors in the constructor standings there might be a bit of a rivalry now, but we're yet to see that, and it's just good to have someone else win, have some variety in there.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm not sure if you saw what happened with the Alfa Romeo driver who was in P1, Max Chapman. He had an off on the very same place that you did in Q1. So obviously yours was in the dry and his was in the wet. But what does that mean? What does that mean? Like, walk me through how easy it is to do that.
I think Sector 2, especially that two left-handers, is a very difficult part of the track. You need to nail it exactly right. You have to make sure not to touch any of the curbs, or you will unsettle the car quite easily. I think in the wet that just adds to the challenge, and he drove a good race, just unfortunate that he obviously unsettled the car in that way. But yeah, hope he does well in the future.
Yeah, thank you for your insight from me. That's all I have from me. Sam, have you got anything to add?
No, just a great performance from today, Casper. Well done.
Thank you.
And we'll see if we can get an interview with the man who sat on the top step of that podium. I think he was crying with joy after that. Definitely a very good performance from him. So we'll go see if we can try and get that next. I think we need to pause the music for this one because round of applause to the man we are here with right now. Robbie, what a race!
Yeah, strategy played out well, I guess.
I think it was more than strategy. Your pace through that entire stint was absolutely amazing. Just walk us through what you were feeling. Obviously, they tried the undercut. The Alfa Romeo team tried the undercut, and you were behind by about 2 seconds. So, what were you feeling when you came on that pits and you saw you were behind?
I noticed I was like 2.5 behind, and they won all the tires by a lap, so I thought that would play in later on in the race. But then the Alpha spun at the end before the VSC, causing the VSC, so it all came into play.
Yeah, what did that mean for your strategy? Obviously, you couldn't go into the pits and go for fresh inters, which I think you really would have done if you because you had that safety stop, didn't you?
I was gonna go in, but I think my tires were fine, and I had the pace to maybe outrun some of the people who were gonna pit.
And
Yeah,
towards
well.
towards the end as well, I'm not sure if your engineer or anyone in your team told you, but one of the drivers in the midfield, actually Casper Knopp, who was sitting P5 comfortably for the end of this race, he went a little bit too far on those inters, and they actually burst. So he had a puncture on the front left.
Hear about that, but less points for him, which is good.
Yeah, and that's that's the sporting spirit there of the Renault team. And your teammate, obviously, he wasn't feeling very well today. How did that motivate you? Did that mean you performed in honor of him?
Happy that he stayed for the whole race. I thought he was going to retire halfway through, but at least he stayed, gave me some motivation. I'm happy for him.
Well, that's all from me, Sam.
No, definitely that is all. But great race from you today, Robbie, and I hope to see some more of that in the future. Do you think that's possible?
Race, yes.
Great.
Absolutely amazing stuff there from the man who sat on the top step of that podium, and we hope to see it in the future.
Hopefully, have a good night.
Thank you, Robbie.
Thanks.
And now for the for the driver of the day vote, and well, I think it is very clear who my driver of the day was. Who was your driver? Just run me through. Who was your driver of the day, Sam, and why?
Well, I think it's between two drivers today. Obviously, Casper not starting from P19 up to P6 with that puncture on the end on the final lap as well is very close for him. But to keep P6 is very good. But I think for me, it has to be Robbie, our first new winner of the Kenco League, and yeah, great race from him. And I believe he would be my driver of the day.
I completely agree with you, and apparently so do the public, with Robbie also winning the driver of the day vote. We'll see if we can get another word with him. Sorry, we probably should have told him this before he left, but we'll try and get another word with him. See if he can come in here and collect his driver of the day award. If not, we'll probably post it to the Renault workshop or something. But yeah, very well done to him, and for the exact same reasons you said, Sam, he deserves driver of the day with about a third of the votes. So yeah, very well done to him.
Yeah, great stuff, and I think you guys chose well today.
We just had to note that Robbie isn't available to come collect that, so he's probably off celebrating already.
Yeah, obviously, lots of adrenaline.
Yeah, what a race there, though. Best one so far, Sam, or do you think it was equaled by Bahrain?
I don't know. I still think that Bahrain race is one of the best we've seen so far. That last to first from Casper Meach was very impressive. But today was up there with Robbie, our first new winner of the league, which is really good.
Yeah. So, fortunately, folks, unfortunately, that brings the F1 session for today to a close here in Shanghai. It's goodbye from myself, goodbye from Sam, but we'll go get one more word from the leader of it all, Ian Hanmore. We'll go see if we can get on board with him. But from myself and from Sam, thank you from the Skybox. Sam?
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. And we do hope you enjoyed the race today in China, and we'll see you next week for a race in Zandvoort.
And sorry to make this so sudden, but the man who organises all of this, Ian Hanmore, just to have a few words.
That was a bit of a. That's fine. That was just a bit of conversation. Yeah, honestly, thank you again for an awesome race. It was completely unexpected by all of us. I mean, my personal, it was my first. I'll be honest with you, it was my first race on a wheel for me. And it was raining, and yeah, it didn't go too well for me, but we can make improvements next week. Again, thank you to you two for the amazing commentary throughout the entire race. I obviously don't know too much of what's gone on. Obviously, it's a shame about a few of the DNFs during the race. But just thank you to everybody who's watched the stream again. I think it's what is it, Netherlands next week? Quali, obviously
Zandvoort.
Friday, and then Zandvoort, and then the race next Sunday. That should make for an interesting race to be honest. Hopefully the skies are clear for that one.
Definitely. And I think other than that, that is it from everybody here at the Sky Crew. Everybody who's participated today, from myself and from Sam. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.